Hi guys, it's Matt Z from Optimus Future Studios. Today I'm going to talk about the top 3 futures market you should focus on the next 5 years. So when it comes to day trading, most day traders that I talk to always ask me, what is the best market to trade when you're a day trader? In fact, what they're really asking, how can I squeeze the most amount of profit from the futures market? Meaning that what contract should I trade to squeeze the most amount of pips, the most amount of points in order to maximize my returns? So here's my answer to that. All the markets are good. That's number one. As long as they are liquid and as long as they have good open interest and as long as there's many participants on them. And the second thing is as long as they're traded on fair terms, meaning through exchanges or providers of liquidity providers, market makers, will give you fair market conditions. So when you're in, it doesn't only look good on the surface on your quotes, it actually gives you the ability to go in and go out in a fair manner. So when it comes to markets such as futures, you have to remember that there are times that the markets are flat, and it happens across all sectors. It can happen in the oil, it can happen in the indices, it can happen in the grain markets, the metals market, and there are times that it's very, very active. So what you want to do is maybe look at a number of markets. So the top 3 that I chose today, I think would cover a lot of ground for you, both from a technical perspective and a fundamental perspective. So the first market that I chose is the NASDAQ market. So you can trade the mini NASDAQ or the micro NASDAQ. Both of them are extremely volatile, they have good liquidity, and I believe whether you're a small trader or a big trader, you have the ability to handle, well, I shouldn't say that everybody could handle the volatility, but rather I should say that there's enough volatility in that market day to day and enough risk and reward provided, for you to trade that market. That's the market that I think you should focus on from the indices. And the reason is because it's a technology sector market. It's based on technology. There's a lot of companies that will come into the market and be listed there. There's a lot of markets who I believe in the long run might get delisted. There's always good evaluations, bad evaluations, but also keep in mind that the FANG, right? You have Facebook, Apple, Netflix, and Google are trading in that market. Everybody always talks about their earnings. They're very, very big players, and I believe the psychology alone causes the market to fluctuate back and forth, and the number of participants there that exists will give you the opportunity to trade those markets. Again, please keep in mind that there's a substantial risk of loss in futures trading, and past performance is not indicative of future results. The second market that I think you should focus on is the crude oil market. The crude oil market is a very interesting market. One, it has a lot of geopolitical effects on it, and there's a lot of demand for it naturally, and there's a lot of suppliers of that market. So the interaction between all of them in terms of the cartel that's called OPEC and how they interact with one another and how they decide prices also determines the fluctuations in the market. We recently saw an attack in the Middle East, unfortunately, that spiked the market overnight by 7%, which should remind everyone that if you're a day trader, close your positions at the end of the day. Don't carry them over the weekend. Anything can happen. So if you're a day trader, close them out. It's 5 o'clock Eastern. Get out. That's it. Next day, or as the session reopens, check the conditions, and then you can re-enter again. Also in the crude oil market, you have a lot of alternatives today to the crude oil. You have solar alternatives. You have electric alternatives. Now, I don't know if everything in our lifetime will replace the crude oil, but definitely there is an increasing demand for electricity, increasing demand for solar energy, and that might affect during different periods the crude oil markets for good or for bad. So there will be fluctuations there as well. There are times, of course, like I said, like any other market, that will be flat. The third market that I think you should focus on is the 10-year notes. The reason is interest rates. Everybody talks about interest rates. They're very low right now. They might get lower, they might get higher, but even between the periods, if you look at the 10-year notes, in periods that between announcements of the Fed and before announcements, it can get pretty rocky and pretty volatile based on the market expectation. So that's another market that you should trade and look at. So when you have your charts, have all three of them set up. Now, can you trade the same method in all three markets? Possibly yes. Can you apply the same risk and reward? No. They will have different movements. They will have different volatility. So whatever market you trade, make sure that you base your risk management and profit expectations accordingly. You don't have to trade all three at the same time. In fact, you don't have to trade them at some days at all. I mean, it's up to you to decide at what day you should trade what and if you should trade them all or not. Now, all those markets that I recommended are not there because I think they're better than any other markets. If you're trading the E-mini S&P, the micro E-minis, it's absolutely fine. If you've chosen the interest rates, the 30-year bonds or the ultra bonds, it's absolutely fine as well. So I'm not talking from a perspective that my decisions and my observations are better than yours. It's just something that I thought I would bring to your attention to focus again for the next 5 years, because I think those things such as technology, alternatives to oil, and the talk of interest rates because it's so low, will not go away. So it's worthwhile starting to focus on those markets. Everything that I do is with a long-term outlook. I don't like to think short-term. So if I look to trade a market, I want to know how I want to trade this market for the next 5 years and 10 years, not just trade it for the next month to try and squeeze something out of it. I believe that every market is its own animal and you have to learn and observe how to behave in that market as a trader. That's it for now. Would love to hear your comments about this. What market do you think is best? What do you think worked for you the best? I would love to hear your comments. I learned from your comments, not just to create not only to create content for this channel, but just also to learn a lot about my traders. I learn every day about your needs. Helps me run a better operation. If you have any questions, you can go to community.optimusfutures.com. If you want to call me, I'd love to earn your business at Optimus Futures. You can call us, go to the site, you can get the number there. If you like the video, please click the like button. And again, love to hear your comments and your feedback. I wish you all the best in trading. I hope you're enjoying these videos. And until next time, this is Matt Z from the Optimus Futures Studio. See ya.